Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another segment of Between the Lines Book Talk. And today we are going to explore visionary and speculative fiction. What is it? And
Yes.
do we fall under that genre? And what is it about our books that might fall under that genre? Now, these are two kind of new genres, genre. And so today we're just going to explore it a little bit, maybe talk a little bit about it, and it's all good. So whatever we think is all good. Our speculative fiction girl couldn't make it. She's driving, and she might join us later on, I hope. And we did lose another visionary fiction author who is in Scotland, and I think he might have gotten the time zones mixed up, or he might be sleeping. I don't know. What time is it there, do you think? Like midnight or
I
something?
don't know.
I don't know.
Possibly.
They're usually 5 to 6 hours ahead of us
Okay.
here in the east. So what would that be? Quarter after 9, quarter after 10.
10
Yeah.
or 11?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So, yeah. So, okay. Well, what I'm going to do is I'll start off reading some characteristics of visionary fiction. And actually, I got this from Visionary Fiction Alliance, and I found them on Facebook. And they do have a really nice website. And so I just wanted to start off by reading what they have to say about characteristics of visionary fiction. And let's see. All right. The first is growth in consciousness is the central theme of the story and drives the protagonist and their other important characters. The story oftentimes uses reincarnation, dreams, visions, paranormal events, psychic abilities, and other metaphysical plot devices. The plot or story is universal in its worldwide view and scope. So in short, the emphasis is on our limitless human potential, where transformation and evolution are entirely possible. Now, 3 well-known authors that fall under this category is Tolkien, J.M. Barrie when he wrote Peter Pan, and who's there? Oh, C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis is another visionary. So I think in a nutshell, they all believed, because they're a little bit different time zone that we're in. For them, they wrote about all things are possible. So, that's a broad spectrum. When you're writing that all things are possible, I mean, really, it does fall underneath all of this, the reincarnation and your visions and your dreams and your paranormal events. So, they also write about what is not visionary fiction, which was a little bit counterintuitive to what their characteristics were. I mean, they were saying that metaphysical fiction, magical realism is not visionary. So I was a little bit confused there. So, so we got visionary, growth in consciousness, and all things are possible. I'm just going to, Facebook keeps dinging me, which is very annoying. So do we kind of have an idea of what visionary fiction is? I know, Maighread, I read your book, and you fall right under that. So why don't we start with you, Maighread? Yeah, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then go ahead and tell us about Stone Cottage.
Well, when you were talking about the 4 characteristics, reincarnation, dreams, visions, whatever the 4th one was, I thought, oh, paranormal. That was it.
And metaphysics.
I thought, yep, Stone Cottage has all 4 of those. and goes even more into pre-birth planning and past life regression and all that kind of thing. So it's telling a good story. Like, I wanted it to be Stone Cottage. I wanted to be a good story, but with these elements in it. And so it was very fun to write.
Well, and I have to say, because you got into reincarnation, and just the way that you wrote the story, made the person think beyond their life today, this one life. I mean, just thinking and envisioning another lifetime. I mean, so that really does fall under that.
Well, that's what I was hoping to get through in the book. The question that I asked, the overall question is, if you pre-planned your life before you were born, what could that life look like? Doesn't necessarily mean the way that I wrote it is exactly the way things happen, but could it happen like that? Sure. And do our past lives influence what we're undergoing now? Yeah, sure, it could do that as well. I just wanted people to think, well, oh, I never thought of it that way. Maybe it could work that way.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah. Well, and Michelle, your new book that just came out, you deal with past lives.
Yes. I deal, yes, reincarnation. I believe you said, you mentioned in that definition, different ways to communicate metaphysically.
Yep.
Dreams, all of that is there. So yes, paranormal. So I'm going to be honest, this is completely new to me, and I just lumped it under paranormal, or I lumped it on, I call it Southern Gothic, or whatever. So I'm surprised, but yes, it has all those elements in there. So very, very cool. Yes.
What's the name of your book, Michelle?
Tormenting. It is Tormenting. It's a prequel novella in a new series, House of Sepion, and it's regarding an original family in New Orleans. I don't want to get sued.
Right.
But
and when did it come out?
Oh, it came out April 27th from Crushing Hearts, Black Butterfly Publishing. So I'm very honored, very excited. It's a re-release. I released it several years ago independently, but it was picked up by a publisher and is re-released. And I'm very excited. I actually had the guts to submit it after Miss Denise read it, and she just encouraged me, and I just said, I'm going to try it, and it went back in, was retweeted and tweaked, and I'm very excited about it. So thanks, Denise.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I can't wait to read the rest of the series. It was really good. Yeah. And her setting, the New Orleans setting.
Excited.
I mean, oh God. So and then her time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love New Orleans.
I
think I must have lived there. If we're gonna go with reincarnation, I must have lived in New Orleans at some point, because I love French Quarter. And I'm married. How about you?
Okay. I don't exactly know where you want me to start on this. I've written 2 books of proposed, 5-book series, and I do hit all of the points that you're talking about. The point is, I don't know if I actually hit reincarnation per se, but the funny thing about that was that I took my novels from notes that I took back in the 1970s when some friends and I were doing some pretty extensive past life research.
Wow.
And so I fictionalized it. I didn't really know what category to put it in. But, we'd started because we all realized that this was in Memphis, Tennessee, and we had all realized that that meant something because Memphis, and we were all being drawn back to Egypt, to ancient Egypt. So I began writing, we would actually regress each other, take notes, and draw pictures and stuff like that. I still have all these original notes. And then I started novelizing a lot of the notes from that particular time period, because I've always kind of
They can hear the squeak.
Stories. Okay. And so the story just kind of came out. A lot of it was the efforts of myself and a couple of friends. And then the rest of them were just sort of channeled. There was a particular character, Now, I didn't know what to put as far as I didn't know about the visionary or speculative aspect of that. I didn't really even know when I first self-published this back a couple of years ago, what genre I would put it in, because it had some romantic parts in it, but it wasn't a romance. Definitely had history in it. It had a sort of incomplete hero's journey on the part of several people. Finally, I was in a writer's group, and they said, this is historical fantasy, because I'm using actual historical events, but I'm inserting myself, my dreams, and people I knew into this, like we're walking into history. And when I did my research, I found that there were actual pieces of literature that had holes in them that actually dovetailed with some of the things that my friends and I thought of. Well, I've just finished working on my third of the 5, but it's got to be edited and formatted right now, but the other 2 are already out. It's called Children of Stone.
I was going to say, what was that?
Oh,
Yeah. Book 1 is Voices in Crystal, and book 2 is Going Forth by Day. And if anybody studied ancient Egypt, you know that going forth by day has to do with the resurrection script that were buried with the kings. And I do a lot of work with mystery schools from what I've done research on and stuff up here. But that's
fascinating. How did you research your books? What type of research?
You mean the actual history?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Google. Before Google, I went to the library a lot, and I kind of took a hiatus when my children were growing up, because it's kind of hard to go to the library back in the pre-internet days, with eyes in tow. So I took a break and did just a whole lot of thinking. But then when I learned how to use the internet, I started looking at things, and I didn't really know. It's just really strange, because I had names that had come to me when I was thinking about names of characters. And I suddenly started reading about a particular king's rule, which is King Mackay, or as the Greeks say, Mycenarius, the guy that had the smallest of the remaining pyramids. And I started reading stories about him, and I'm going, well, this fits, this fits. And I also, I did have kind of a, I guess, sci-fi element to it, because I also had, I inserted some sort of unusual type alien creatures in there as well. Basically, they're boosters, and I didn't know what they were at first, but then being surrounded by computer people, I thought it was something. There were these little stones that were found, and they're really sort of like a download. When they're given to a host, they download intelligence and they reformat DNA, and regular people were being turned into godlike creatures. Wow. And having to deal with this sort of change. Like, what am I going to do now that I'm not going to die like a normal person? What am I going to do now that I can do this for somebody? And so, but anyway, back to the research part, I found that there were certain names that were very close to the names that I had thought of. And because I was looking up what are accurate names, because I wanted to see what accurate names were. And then I suddenly started finding stories where the actual written history started contradicting itself. And so I went, well, maybe if you speculate that this happened and then this happened, maybe the story works. Maybe the actual story works. And did I answer the question?
Perfectly.
You know,
perfectly.
That's a great segue, because we're also here to talk about speculative fiction. And I think that's a lot of what Mary's been talking about. It's something, it's fiction that doesn't really fall under any other genre, you know, and it could include alternative history, amazing stories, mysteries, historical fiction, you know, so horror. So anything that, you know, you speculate about when you're writing, you know, so really it's almost like, you know, visionary and speculative kind of will overlap, but I think the one difference is visionary is the growth in consciousness of the protagonist or the main characters, where speculative, you know, you could just have a paranormal romance, you know, with some weird and wacky alien things, or, you know, so.
I understand that. No, but I'm talking about growth because, like, say, for instance, in mine, the hero does grow, and I actually have a really interesting anti-hero who grows through this and becomes not the horrible wretch that they were in the first place. They start as a totally negative person, but then totally turn around and become something else. And you know, there's a female in there that turns out being just a crazy wild woman, and she turns out actually to be more of a maternal figure. So there's growth there. She basically becomes the caretaker of some of the other people. She's still a little wild around the edges, but she manages to kind of take charge of everybody. And so there's definitely growth. How about in your everybody else's, any growth and stuff there? I need to get your book, Michelle. I have this list in my
I was going to say that the work that I have done in both these areas, the visionary, definitely my protagonist, she's 20th century woman who they call it these days, they call it a breakthrough, but she has anxiety issues and things like that. And it's through those issues that she finds Stone Cottage and finds the ghost. And it's their connection and how they learn, how she learns who she was and why she's here and how she helps the ghost move on. And my second book, it's just a very, very small book. So the first one is the more visionary, because there is a great deal of growth, both with her and the ghost. The ghost both grow and move on. The second book that I wrote is an anthology of 4 very short stories that I took passages from the Bible that I had heard read to me, stories like the rich young ruler, for example. For years, I had heard that story, and it was always, oh dear, the poor boy, he was lost because, Jesus said to him, go and sell all you have and give to the poor. And he went away sad. And I thought to myself, well, maybe he was sad at the beginning, but that doesn't mean that's the way it ended. And so I speculated on what could be a different ending, because I never liked that story that he went away and he was lost for all eternity, and I thought, oh no, that's not necessarily. So I did speculate, and I've written a new ending to it.
Wow.
And that's what I did. There are 4 stories like that in my stepping stones that I wrote new endings that I think are a little bit more positive. But again, it was speculating. It's fiction. The stories are fiction. It's a retelling of the old stories, but they are fiction. But just I speculated with different endings. And then there's 2 other stories in there that are original stories. So, I think when you speculate on how things could be, that doesn't necessarily mean, because the history that we get,
right,
it's written down from a particular point of view.
Yep.
And that whole thing, that whole story might be totally different if it was written by somebody else.
Yes.
Yep.
So
yep.
Who's to say what we speculate couldn't also be correct?
Definitely.
I did that.
And depending on what the historian and what the people in power want you to know.
Yeah.
True.
That's what comes down as history.
Yeah. True.
But may not be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Denise, your book hits on many aspects as far as visionary and some speculative, right? Candlelight and cobwebs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
many of your books, actually.
Well, the Dragon Horse series is a growth in consciousness series. It's a young girl that starts out, and she's on a metaphysical path, and she has a gypsy queen at her side who could tell her everything she needs to know to become who she needs to become. But that's not she wanted her to live the journey. She had to live the journey. She had to grow, because it's like anything in our lives. If we're told the answer, it doesn't mean as much to us if we find the answer out for ourselves. And so, that's what she goes through in the first book. And she has to remember who she was in her past. And so that, a lot of growth in consciousness, you get into the magical realism and the psychic abilities, and she has a lot of visions and dreams, and through the visions, that's how she learns about her past. And but like Candlelight and Cobwebs, if you want to get into the speculative fiction, and alternative history, I have 3 different timelines. Starts present day, then it goes back to 1918, and then it goes back to 334 BCE, Delphi, Greece. And I speculated because when it came to the oracles of Delphi, and I had to write in, when I found out that Alexander the Great actually went and had an audience with the oracle, I had to speculate what that was like and what happened afterwards. So, I didn't change history. I inserted the oracle more than just that meeting, him actually going to the Adaton and asking her the question. And of course, he probably, all he wanted to know about was if he was going to win the war against the Persians, so it's just, I don't know, and that's the thing. It's like so many of these genres can cross over, you know, and I've done that with all of my books, and even paranormal romance. I mean, it could fall under visionary, it could fall under speculative, you know, and so it just doesn't it make this whole genre, you know, you have to fit your book under this, or you have to fit your book under that. I mean,
right.
You know, sometimes if the author is confused, you know, I mean, how is the reader supposed to figure this out? Yeah, I
mean, right. You know, I mean, that's the problem that I had, is I could not find a genre, and I had several people telling me, well, you know, you got to change your book so it fits a genre, and I'm going, why?
Yeah,
you know, why do I have to do that?
Yeah.
I write what I write.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
I wish there was a genre. Well, I'm kind of glad that there's one. It just doesn't seem to be, well, like when you're, well, that's interesting. did anyone else get that meeting?
Oh, yeah.
Thing?
Yeah, that's our 10-minute warning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that kind of threw me.
But that's why I think that's why they're speculative, you know, because it does cover such a broad spectrum of genres, and if you really don't fit into that box, you can go into speculative. And I really didn't know there was speculative fiction until a few months ago. I mean, I'm trying to shove everything under, you know, these main genres. You know?
And see, I'm the opposite. I knew of the speculative fiction, but not the visionary, you know. And so do we know where that came from, or what, you know, what was the catalyst for the visionary genre?
Yeah.
Or was it mainly because there was too many leftovers, and you know, undecided is what I mean.
It's speculative fiction is a term attributed to Robert Heinlein in 1941 that has come to be used to collectively describe works in the genres of science fiction, fantasy, and horror. So, but then it just, but if you already have science fiction, fantasy, and horror, then why do we need to muddy the water with yet another genre? Somebody's not happy. Who is that?
That's true.
It's fair.
Oh,
somebody just came to the door.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was wondering who
Sorry
had
about that.
It wasn't me.
Yeah.
I have cats.
Me too. I have cats.
But
yeah, but it was just because somebody came to the door.
Oh, okay.
Yay! Somebody's here. It's all right.
Okay, now I can throw another wrench. I'll throw another wrench into the genres. There's also women's visionary fiction, and I think some of us, yes, I think some of us could fall under that one. Actually, this I found it. Author Mary Mackay. She wrote about women's visionary fiction in her blog, and it is a new type of fiction. But it has been around for decades. It's in fact, for all of recorded history, women have been associated with visions, mystical experiences, spiritual powers, magic, the ability to bring new life into the world, heal the sick, and speak to the dead. So, I mean,
Oh God,
neat. I want to read that book.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, actually, Candlelight and Cobwebs could follow under women's visionary fiction with speculative alternative history. You know, and I mean, so many of us, I mean, even your Stone Cottage could fall right under that.
Yes.
I mean, and Michelle's Tormentin'. I mean, you know, so it's just mind-boggling.
But the thing I find too is that to get your book on Amazon, you've got to pick something.
Yep.
You know,
Right.
and when I first put when Stone Cottage was first picked up and put on there, they chose ghost story and horror. Well, there's absolutely no horror in it whatsoever.
Yeah.
But they didn't know what to call it.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's difficult, especially when you're dealing with business types that don't think outside the box.
Right.
Right.
I think mine is listed as paranormal fantasy or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's yeah. You know.
Yeah.
I forgot. I need to look.
Yeah. Well, and that's just.
And then you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say we're told to carry by branding ourselves. I mean, I've heard people say that we need to brand ourselves. We are a paranormal writer, or we are a steampunk writer, or we are. So, I mean, that gets even more muddy.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And
it's very hard to pick a brand.
Yes.
Well, and you want to pick something that people know, because, you know, when the Dragon Horse, the first book came out, and I was telling everybody, well, it's visionary fiction. They were like, what? What is visionary fiction? And, you know, so so that's the conundrum here. I don't know. Do you try to fit under fantasy?
Well, especially if you write.
What?
Especially if you write in different genres and different ages. You know, what do you brand yourself as?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I just use speculative. I've used speculative fiction because that does cover, because steampunk is under there, as, you know, the paranormal and everything. So that's what I have. Speculative fiction. So
maybe an idea of we could put a little blurb on the inside the front, just to say visionary fiction is blah blah. You know, the 4 things that Denise. Maybe we need to get definitions and put them in the book, itself, or on the back cover, or something, so that people will know what they're getting. Maybe you should send us that little couple of sentences of what you described, Denise. That would be helpful.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I sort of put something like that on the back of my books, but I don't really go into. I don't give it a name. I just kind of say I combine real and I say imaginative history.
Yeah.
I say I rewrite mythology.
Oh, I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because actually what the characters of mine were is they sort of start walking into the different stories of the gods.
Wow, that is very cool.
Yeah.
And because of different aspects that they start.
I'm going to definitely read you guys.
What I throw out there is a picture of you as a werewolf.
Right.
Oh, you know.
Yeah.
Very cool. I've definitely got to read you guys' books. That sounds awesome. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, and that's why I just thought it would be fun just to do this video, because there are a lot of people out there that and I know Visionary Fiction Alliance, they're working really, really hard to try to get visionary out there for the readers, you know, and, you know, I hate to say it, when I go in the bookstore, I really don't. You know, the genres in the bookstore are so vague. You got
they are
teens, young adult, young readers, religious and metaphysical. You know, so basically, I just read the back cover and look for taglines of what it is that I like to read. You know,
right.
So I mean,
I had a hard time writing the back blurb for Stone Cottage because I didn't want to give away too much, but I didn't want people to know. I wanted people to know what it was about. And back blurbs are
they're hard.
They're hard.
Yeah.
But I think if I put something on there about this is a visionary fiction work and blah, 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 blah. That would help, because I would like to see that on a book.
Yeah.
And then I would say, oh, okay, there's more to this book than I thought.
Right.
Right.
Good idea.
Well, Michelle, you want to take us out, seeing as we're at a minute here?
All right. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us. Mary, where can everyone touch base with you and grab copies of your book? And then we're going to move to Maighread as well.
Well, I just have my Facebook page under Mary R. Woldering. I also have an Amazon and Twitter. I'm working on getting a website functioning, but that seems to be just, I'm so busy writing, I just haven't had time to sit down and do that. So Amazon, I guess, would be the best thing, and Facebook is another thing. Just friend me and I will send you over to my author page, and that does link to Goodreads as well as Twitter and the whole other thing.